now face Buffalo.
Colorado had 9 goals.
Right.
Montreal had 9 shots.
Right. It's impossible to believe. All right, to the NFL. Cowboys coach Brian Schottenheimer said he's not sure if George Pickens will participate in voluntary workouts this offseason, although the receiver has signed his franchise tag tender. Schotty saying as of right now, they've not had any conversations about trading Pickens and look forward to his growth this year. Listen.
I just think where he can continue to go and grow is scary because what he did last year was amazing. And the more you watch the film and you see it, you're just kind of like, whoa, like it's different. Super Bowl 61, February 14th, 2027. And that's where we plan on being. And that's a tall task, and we have to clean up a number of things that we need to improve on from last year, and that starts with protecting the football and taking it away and things like that nature. But it was proven this year by both Seattle and New England that if you didn't qualify for the playoffs, the previous year, it doesn't mean you can't get to the big game.
I love it. Listen to Schotty calling his shot.
That's right.
If you will. And he's not afraid to talk about the Super Bowl right now and everything else. And the last piece of this had to fall into place, which is George Pickens signing that tender, which he did. And Mike T, you're going to tell us that the timing of it suggests he intends to play for the Cowboys this season.
Absolutely, Greeny. It was reported initially that he had signed before the draft, which would lead us to think, okay, maybe he's going to get traded some point before round 1. Do a deal and go to Team X, and then Dallas would take that draft capital and presumably sign a receiver. The fact that he signed it after the draft tells me he is 100% there for the year. It just wouldn't make sense for the way the Dallas Cowboys are built to trade George Pickens after the draft, knowing there's really not a lot of receiver options out there, which is great news for the Cowboys. It's better news, Greeny, from the standpoint now he has to be at mandatory minicamp, he has to be at training camp, which gives him and the Cowboys the best chance to be successful for the season.
You were making the point this morning, Dan. We've not yet heard from him. At some point, we will. But that does seem, you sort of add 2 and 2 together. It seems like that's the way it's going.
Actions speak louder than words. He signs the tag. Like the Cowboys come out and say we're not going to negotiate a long-term deal with him. The Cowboys believe the franchise tag is the correct way to go with George Pickens this season. And you hear it in what Brian Schottenheimer is saying, talking about how much better he can still get. That's kind of their pitch to Pickens, like, hey, do it again, and maybe even more, and then you'll really cash in, whether it's with us or somebody else, But I think that's what they're saying. Like, it was one great year. Let's see it again, and then we'll talk.
I hope that that's the way he sees it if I'm a Cowboy fan, because the reality is that's the right way to approach this. I can't criticize the Cowboys for their approach on this at all, considering the history. So now you sit back and you look at it, D. Wood, and you've got the head coach, and you know him well. He was your OC with the Jets, talking Super Bowl talk in early May. How do you feel about it?
I love it, man. Like, listen, I've had it from both sides of the coin. I've had it where, the process, you don't want to get ahead of it. And I've had coaches say, hell, let's talk about it now. Let's lay out all the expectations right now. Both sides at work. Schotty's very confident. They got a really good roster. We all know the things that they need to work on, stopping the run and all that. But listen, at the end of the day, Greeny, it's about big-time players doing big-time things. That's what it's all about with the Dallas Cowboys. We can go on and on about all this other stuff, but it's the Dak Prescotts, the C.D. Lambs, the George Pickens, the Quentin Williams, all of those guys. They got to come up money if the Dallas Cowboys want to be playing in Los Angeles.
Yeah, a couple years ago, they make the playoffs. They lose that home game to Green Bay right in the first round. A major letdown for a team that had high hopes. So with the Cowboys, if we're assuming the roster is good enough to get them back to the playoffs, then it's the same old question. Can Dak Prescott and this group elevate beyond where they've been, which is they haven't been to a conference championship game in 30 years?
If they're going to, it's the defense that's going to have to get a lot better. And if there's one person that is an addition to that defense that you think makes the biggest difference, who is that person?
Caleb Downs. We talked a lot pre-draft about his versatility, how smart he is. But Dallas last year gave up 72 plays of 20 yards or more, which was the 4th most in the league. If he just cuts that in half, the amount of yardage and the amount of big plays he'll prevent, because he's an outstanding tackler, is going to be huge for this defense.
All right, so we'll see. There's some video of him for the first time in a Cowboy uniform, and now you see him playing with Ohio State. We'll see what they're capable of doing. I want everyone to see one other thing, and I want you guys to be here to react to this because it was my favorite thing over the weekend that I saw by a long ways. And that was, by this point, you've all seen what happened in the Kentucky Derby this weekend. Golden Tempo coming from literally at the very, very back of the pack into the front and winning the race at the very end. Golden Tempo's trainer,
because he doesn't have the experience starting games that someone like Justin has, but he's still viewed as someone who has the talent that you can do something with. So if Anthony Richardson sees the field in 2026 and has some level of success, all of a sudden now we could be talking about a Malik Willis situation, right? But if he doesn't, like if, let's say Daniel Jones comes back healthy, plays all 17 games, then I think you're hoping to get something like a veteran minimum salary deal and with incentives and prove you still have something. But this is a guy that when the Colts drafted him, they said he needs to be on the field. He needs more experience. He needs more reps. He hasn't been able to get them due to injury and also, to some extent, ineffectiveness. So it really depends on how much, if at all, he can play this year and what he can show anybody.
And the timing of it, too. I mean, They may not want to move him right now. Might there be another time in the future? We'll see. That brings me back to a conversation we had last week when Michelle was going through her top 5 quarterback battles, and Minnesota being one of them. Are you of the agreement that whoever wins that job, the loser ends up on a different team this year?
This year? Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's this, because if you're the Vikings, like, what would it take to trade J.J. McCarthy right now? Like, you've paid 70% of the rookie contract. You at one point you believed in him as a franchise quarterback. Kyler Murray's only signed for 1 year. And has a no franchise clause in the deal. So you're not committed to him beyond this year. There's no guarantee you can get him back. I think it would, if you're Minnesota, you're still asking for a fairly high price for J.J. McCarthy, and probably high enough that there's no one out there who's going to pay it right now. So yeah, I'm not sure I assume that. I don't get the sense they're ready to give up on McCarthy just yet. Maybe I'm naive, but that's sort of what I've been told from inside that building this offseason.
We're talking with Dan Graziano here on Unsportsmanlike, presented by Progressive Insurance. The Steelers' decision to place the unrestricted free agent tender on Aaron Rodgers means what?
Means that if he doesn't sign by July 22nd, he can only sign with them. That's pretty much it. It doesn't change anything for him in the short term. He's still an unrestricted free agent, can sign with anybody he wants for whatever amount he wants. But the Steelers have this is not a hedge against him retiring. He can still retire. It's a hedge against him signing with some other team.
Is there another team?
No. But let's say, for example, 2 weeks from now, he's still not signed. And Matthew Stafford wakes up in the morning and goes, you know what? I'm actually done. Like, right? Like, I'm making this up. This is purely speculative, right? But like, or somebody on a contending team, Patrick Mahomes has a setback, right? And all of a sudden there's a contending team looking for someone who can step in and play quarterback. Then that becomes a situation where if he signs somewhere else, Pittsburgh would still be eligible to get a compensatory pick in the 2027 draft for him. If they hadn't put the tender on him, then they wouldn't. So it's pretty a procedural move in case some circumstance changes that results in him signing somewhere else.
They're obviously protecting themselves in that manner, Graz, but are you surprised that we're sitting here yet again, and even though the Steelers said the timeline is going to be different this year, don't expect it to be like last year, and we still don't have an Aaron Rodgers decision? What's your interpretation from the Steelers side of things?
Are you surprised? Because
from the Steelers?
I'm not.
From the Steelers, I am.
Maybe it's Aaron Rodgers.
I'm not surprised on the Rodgers side. Right. I'm surprised that turning the page into a new regime with the Steelers, that they would go down the exact same road that they did last year.
I am, big picture, I am surprised that's the decision the Steelers made. It seems like they made it so long ago that it's not, I thought you were saying, are you surprised it's taking this long?
No, not on the Rodgers side, on the Steelers side.
I am. I think they should be thinking bigger. They've kind of closed themselves off to other possibilities the last 2 years. They never even checked in on Sam Darnold, right, last year when he was a free agent. So I'm surprised that this is so clearly the way they want to keep going. I think we saw last year what the ceiling is for them with Aaron Rodgers at this stage of his life and career, and I think they should be thinking about elevating that ceiling a lot more than they are.
So we're 2 weeks now removed from the NFL draft. And usually if there's movement in front offices, Graz, it's already happened by now. There was a lot of speculation about Joe Shane. Would he be the general manager for the Giants after